class. This is Michael Tweed here, and this is the beginning of a video series for digital design class. And we are going to start, this semester, if you're just sort of tuning in, maybe you're not even in the class and you're watching the videos, this semester is about a lot of things. A lot about rendering, it's really about drawing, it's a lot using Adobe software, Illustrator, Photoshop, so on and so forth. But it's more than that. So even here I'm starting in AutoCAD, and that's what the first lesson is about, like some best practices in CAD to integrate with those things, best practices for 3D modeling to integrate with all sort of final renderings, and all those things will be sort of going throughout the CAD class. And so the first thing what we're doing today is I really want to talk about line weights, because line weights are so important in drawings. And so we're going to be, for a big part of the semester, I'm going to provide this house which you see on the screen right here. I just drew it up, something I thought would have the right sort of level of detail for the variety of things we're doing this semester. And I basically drew it up and I put it all on layer 0, which of course is not how I drew it, because that would have been very difficult to design and draw that way. But to get to this point that line weights are so important, I want to give it to you on layer 0, and your job is to create the right layers, or really to create the right line weights for this. And so go ahead and start applying line weights. In just a second I'll show you how to do that in CAD if you don't know how to do that. But the big point is make it look right, follow the basic standards. Cut lines are thick, things that are further away are thinner. And basically if you apply a color to a layer, that color references a line weight. So anything else that's that same color should probably be the same line weight. I'll continue to talk about that. But don't be afraid to try things, print it out, see how it looks at about 8 scale, we'll say. I think will be what we're first going to be working at. And if it doesn't look right, change it, print it out again. It's not that hard to do till it just looks just the way you think it wants to look. That's the main part of this lesson. But there are some details here that I want to go over. So again, to do the way you do in AutoCAD line weights is that you do it through layers. And typically, though not always, but typically the color of the layer is closely related to the line weight. All right. So if you don't know how to make a layer, the first thing you're going to have to do is come up to your layer properties box. You click on that button right here, and of course this is what comes up. 0 is the default. I guess I accidentally left one layer in there, but don't worry about that from when I drew it. And to make a new layer, you just come up here, click on this button, and you can call it anything you want. So a typical way you do layers for floor plans, often you have different layers for floor plans as you do for elevations. I'm not going to be checking your layers again as much as I am line weights, but typically we'll have layers names for things on floor plans. So it'll be like walls or furniture, doors, things like that. When we do elevations, which in this drawing we have both, we usually just relate it to line weights. And when I'm done here, you'll see sort of my entire list of what I used. So you could skip ahead in the video to see all of that. But I'm just going to show you how to make a layer. So I hit this little button here. I'm going to type in wall for walls. And if I were going to make it a color, I just hit this color here. And I like using the main colors down here most only, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit purple, magenta, if you will, there. And then to change line weight, I just click here and I pick what line weight I think will work. And I'm going to pick one that doesn't work, because I want to make sure you guys are working. So I'm just sort of randomly picking 0.3. I don't think 0.3 will be right for your walls, but that's what I'm going to do. And when I do that, we can see that it has changed to 0.3. And I can go and make layers now. I can make layers later, however you want to do it, but I'll just start with this one layer here. And if I come down to my floor plan, we can see I can select on some walls. I can then select my layer button here and it changes to magenta, so clearly it has changed the wall. So that's one way you can do it. I can also use match properties. So once I have a layer set, I can click on it and then I can just sort of click other pieces of walls that would also be that same layer. And so that's how you set up layers. That's how you set up line weights. The trick is to get the correct line weight thickness for each of these elements. And you just go and apply it to the entire drawing. Apply it to the first floor plan, tied to the second floor plan, which is over here, and all the elevations. Now the one tricky thing about the floor plan is that a lot of these lines are overhead lines. You can see that there's roofs overhangs and structural overhangs and various other things going on three-dimensionally in this drawing. And so you want to make sure that not only do you set it on the right line weight there, but you also set the right light times scale. So it's a dotted line. And I'll show you my finished work so you can take a quick look at what it should look like. But just to how do you go about setting up a dotted line in case you don't know, I will show you that now. So I'm going to do layer properties. I'm going to click on a new layer. I'll call it hidden or above. Whoops, I don't know what I typed on my keyboard there. Something unintentional. Hidden above. There we go. And I like to I don't know what I typed in here, but it is not liking it. Okay, hidden above. All right. Yeah, hit here. I like to make my hidden lines light gray color, or dark gray would be fine. That's fine. That's easy enough. Again, you're going to come through and select a line weight here. Of course, it's going to be thin, and so the thinnest one possible without being 0 sort of gives a clue as to what that might be. And then we have to change the line type as well. So I'm going to click on continuous. You'll notice here that it only has continuous, and so there's a few steps to loading up a hidden line in here. So I'm going to go to load. I'm going to scroll down to, I like to use hidden. I'll just use regular hidden right here. There's some other ones that would work as well. The settings might be slightly different on them. But I'm going to use hidden. I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to click on hidden again to change it to hidden there. If this still said continuous right here, it's because you didn't select that last hidden layer. It would stay at continuous, so just be careful about that. Be careful it says hidden. And then now that is all good to go, so I can close this. And just like before, if I want to start getting something on hidden line, I'm going to come here, select the layer, and select it here. We can see it's a modified slightly grayish tone. One of the things you'll notice is that I made the layer hidden, but it's not showing up as dotted lines, and that's because of scale issues. And there's different ways of dealing with this. I could potentially work down here, and let's say I think I said we're going to work at 8th scale, so I could try changing that to 8th scale, and it'll come up, and that's probably the easiest one. You could also change your properties. There's line type scale layers. There's like 1,000 ways of making that setting, but changing this to 8th scale certainly is one of the easiest ways to do it. However, and in this assignment it'll be fine. I find sometimes it has downsides if you're using a plan at different scales, which will happen, but nonetheless we'll do it this way for now. So I'll go through and then I can match properties. I did a shortcut there, MA, for match properties, and I can go around and do all the things that are sort of in the air. And I'm not going to do all of them right now. I'm going to show you them in the final, but that's how you would make something hidden line, and that would include the kitchen cabinets and various other elements. So again, what you want to do is you want to make all the layers you think you need for the plans and change all the layers to that with the correct line weights. And you want to do the same thing for the elevations. You don't have to watch me do all that boring stuff, because I'm going to, boom, jump to this file, and there we go. It's done. And so what you can see here is, of course, the drawing is very colorful. And if I open up my layer list, I'm not going to open up my layer properties, because if I do that, you're going to see what line weights I actually chose for all of these elements. And I do want you guys to do that work. I do want you guys to think about line weights and get sort of accustomed to what good line weights would be. But what I want to point out again is just some of the things that I did in setting up these layers that you may choose to follow yourself. Again, you'll see words like doors, casework, stairs, walls. Those are all for the floor plans, and they relate to what the object is. At the same time, you see this 0,1 extra thin, 0,2 thin, 0,3 medium, so on and so forth. These I use for the elevations, which are over here on the right. And you notice two things. One is I put the 0,1s, 0,2, 0,3 in there, because that then organizes it from thinnest to thickest. Otherwise, it's alphabetical, and these layers would get all sort of mixed around, and I find it hard to follow. So that's just a simple little trick. The other thing you'll notice, which again I think is the most important in some ways, is that the color corresponds to line weight. So when I have 0,5 extra thick, which is for my elevations, which is for the ground line, and I have walls, and they're both magenta, they are also both the same line weight in my AutoCAD. Same with blue. If I have blue here and blue here, they're the same line weight in my layer properties. Red, yellow, so on and so forth. The other thing you'll notice, and you can really tell from my elevations, that I tend to go from being my thinnest line weight, other than the gray for hidden line, which I just went over, but I start with thin, is red, to yellow is the next thickest, cyan is the next thickest, and I didn't put green in there because green I often find needs, anyway, it doesn't matter. Green is actually a similar thin thickness to yellow in my line weights. I just didn't need them for elevations. There's just wanted differentiation there. That's all I did that for. But anyway, it goes from red to magenta, which is in that row of layer colors. It goes from thinner to thickest, which is another technique a lot of people use, but not always. There's different ways of doing it. So of course there's basic line type rules, like what gets a thick line, what gets a thin line. I'm not going to go over that. We are well past basic drawing techniques at this point. You should know what they are. If you have questions, you can certainly ask me. But I think you guys know what those are, so I don't have to go over that. And you just set up the drawing and make it look good. Now I do want to make one more note before I end this video, which is some students have had experience to CTBs where they've used, they haven't necessarily put the line weight in the layer properties box, which is also a good way of doing it. I think there's drawbacks and downsides to each. There's positives and negatives to doing it in your layer properties, which I did here, or using the CTB, which if you don't know what it means, don't worry about it. We won't need to know about it at this point. But if you do and you want to do it that way, you can. But you're gonna have to figure that. I'll let you figure that out on your own. The same thing sort of applies though. Figure out what good line weight it is, no matter which way you do it, and we will get you there. So with that, that's the end of this video. You'll have the perfect CAD plan to start rendering from. See you next time.